Welcome back, everyone. In today's episode of Garage Talk, we'll be covering part 5 of the Jeep Cherokee build. We're going to go over gluing in the windows, total assembly of the body from lights to bolts, and then putting together and putting on the roof rack itself. If you don't want to miss out on any of the build or events, comps, or anything coming up, please subscribe to our small channel. We might not pop up in your feed again. Thank you for all that you guys do to help get this seen. I don't want to waste any more time, so let's get into the show. Putting the windows in. If you're putting the windows in and you want them to stay in, like you're gonna plan to roll the truck and you don't want them to ever come out, I would suggest using some sort of super glued gel. It doesn't have to be Loctite. It can use whatever brand you want. The Gorilla Glue one works well too. Be kind of sparing with it because you don't want it to squish over into the window seal itself. But just put a little bit, like basically anywhere on the window here. We'll actually do one for you. And yeah, I'm gonna show you how it turns out. It's been a while since I've done one, so I'm kind of nervous myself. But it says on the instructions to use hot glue. That's just, if you're gonna use hot glue, the only way to do it and have it actually work. Otherwise, if you put hot glue on it and then smush this on, it doesn't work. Hot glue is really thick. You're gonna want to put it on and then take the hot glue and put it on the tabs right here. But that doesn't really hold it for long term. Because if you hit it, or if the hot glue gets cold, hot glue does not absorb shock or cold well. So, just a little, hope that helps somebody. And I am not going off of knowledge that someone else told me. That's strictly from what I've learned in the last 9 months of being in this hobby. Is hot glue is just, it's not perfect. As you can see how I'm just dabbing this on, just a little here and there. A little goes a long ways. And if you break it out one day, you can always just put it back in. But it's better than having a mess on your windshield. The last thing you want, I'm telling you, I've done it, is a mess on your windshield. Make sure you don't have any on your fingers before you push it down. Here we go. And then hold. Please don't any be on the windshield. Please! Or not the windshield, but you know what I mean. Whatever glass you're doing. Okay. You gotta hold it for about 20 seconds if I remember right. Just wanting to make sure it's not squishing over at all, because that part was a little thicker there than I thought it was going to be. And there we go. Now it does take 24 hours for this to fully cure. Just like paint, it does have a different thing between dry time and cure time, so there we go. Just keep that in mind. Okay, let's get some more final. We have to put the mirrors together. And that's what these little pieces are here. Just go like that, like that. Like that. Zam. Grab our, well, you can use whatever you want, but any kind of flat piece usually works well here. We'll take our super glue. Oops, throw it on the ground. I am dropping everything. Make sure this is the way it goes. Yes, it is. Just put a little bit of super glue right in there. Just like that. And apply a bit of pressure. Shazam! Alright, let's start getting this body together. So first off, I need to do steps 1, which is using the M3 to the B2 M3 10mm. That would be these, and they're already bunched together. So let's do that. So next up, like I was saying, we do have the D1 M2 6x8. And that would be these. We'll go ahead and get them put in. Part 3 should be this. Yep. Part 3 is to put on the back. And we should be using the same screws as far as I know. Yes and no. So we're going to use the same screws that we use for the top here. We can actually use 4 of them. We have 4 holes. And then, or we can just use 2. It shows the picture as 2. We might just use 2 to save weight. Don't know how I feel about that. We do have enough. But we also need a couple D1s here, so maybe just 2. We use so many around the top. And then we need to use an C1 M26. 2 of them for in the back here by the taillights, and a B1 M36. Alright. M26, 2 of them. M36, there we go. Alright, from what I can tell, I don't need these 2 for anything. And they have these 2 spots here, so even though it doesn't show 4, I'm going to use 4. There's some tension in there, I won't lie, with those 3 pieces all coming together here. And when you're tightening down any of the screws on this, like if you're putting these 2 seams together and you're noticing there's a little bit of gap, like you're pushing this in, it's pushing this out, try your hardest not to strip the screw out. Just back it back out and push it and try boring it back through again. You know, keep backing it out and push and going in and out until it wants to work out. Because if you're painting it or if they painted it, it really doesn't matter who painted it. Or the screw holes aren't like perfectly sized, you know. And the screws, sometimes you might have an issue or 2, so just to give it that extra safety. Not right. N times 2. That's the long ones, that makes sense. You do have to put the lights through at some point here, so I think this might be the same one for the lights. Not positive, but we'll see real quick. So grab the lights. This is the same part as the, what's it called? The mirrors. Mirrors. Them. Just grab our handy dandy flathead here real quick. Okay, and then we need our lenses. Shazam, shazam. You can put these ones in after. I think you might be able to put all these in after. I'm not quite sure how. That's why we're doing it now. So we slide this in first, the lens. Even though I've done this 3 times now. And then this piece. Well, to be fair, the colorful Comanche doesn't have any lens behind it, just like so. And here's our screws. And I think we have double screw holes. Perfect. And they do take a flathead. Very nice. Nice, I can see it coming out the other side. Okay. Now we already did the window part as well. We just did this part, 7. So we already done 6. We just did 7 while doing 5. But we skipped the grill part on 5. You know, not a perfect how-to, as I say. I don't make how-tos. Do my own thing. I hope it helps. Doorknobs with wheel wells. And then rear lights, everything is glued in. Other than the wheel wells. Perfect. Alright. Can't remember how these go in. Let me look real quick. Yellow on the bottom. Okay. Yellow goes to the bottom on this. So what I like to do is paint, or not paint, but put the glue there so the light is really like attached to the truck really well, and not the bumper though, because you're gonna put a bumper on as well. And this way it doesn't show up at all. And then just a little bit here, because you're gonna be putting on the tab, right? Shazamo. And a yellow at the bottom. Just like that. When I move, you move. Oh, that looks nice. And you can always glue it a little bit on the tabs on the inside there with hot glue. I think when they say set the things in hot glue, what they mean is just back of the tabs. Better safe than sorry. There we go. Good thing about door handles, they're big enough to cover up any glue spillage or squish over, or whatever the heck you want to call it. C2 M2 8mm ones they send to do this with. And what I do is I'm going to go on the outside here. That's not good. I found it in the carpet. Let's go. Full dog hair. Nice. That actually grips in perfectly. And I'm even gonna put a little bit of super glue on the screw of each one of these. That way it really holds it in. Or hot glue on the backside. That's what I did with the other ones. But like I said, the hot glue broke after a while, so maybe super glue would be the move. Whoops. Okay, what's happening here? There we go. And you're like, well, now they'll never come off. I don't want them to. So, kind of the point there. Nice. And one more. Alright, let's do quick assembly on this. I did lose the footage of me cutting the holes for this and whatnot. Basically what I would suggest, you can see that I made a mistake and it didn't come out perfectly square. It's gonna be great though. It still came out like it came out square in the end because I can bend the tabs a little bit. So luckily there's that. But also what I would suggest is putting this down, using it over a piece of wood, something you're not going to drill through to hurt yourself or anything like that. Using a drill, one of your smallest drill bits that is not big enough for the hole or the bolt to go through, getting your pilot holes, and then sizing your drill bit up and getting your actual holes bored out. That's what I did in the long run. At first I tried to put this on and then like use a marker to mark where the holes needed to be, and that's how I ended up with them not perfect. And I saved it by doing it the other way, by just drilling with this on with a small drill bit, taking this off and using a larger drill bit, which is actually probably the correct way to do it. Again, just that's my mistakes. These turned out well. Anyways, putting this on, next step, we did paint this as well, if you didn't see that part. They send this and they send this. We already have our 4 bolts that we need right here pulled out for putting it onto the roof. So let's take these. We are using the stickers and all the covers. We're just gonna leave everything the original color black because there's enough black trim and everything, as black plastic's pretty normal to see, so I think it works well. The 2 square lights are for in the back, and there's 4 front lights. They do send 4 lights, like actual bulbs I could run, but like I said, I'm gonna run these all covered, that way I don't have to worry about trying to run lights through. And then this is the bolt for the spare tire here. So let me just put that on like so. I'm not going to worry about that right now either. There we go. A cornucopia of screws there. So, there's a screw. Nice. So the tabs screws, the ones with the built-on washers or whatever you want to call them. They're not washers, I guess they're I don't know, tabs. They're to hold the lights on. And then the small little screws like this are meant to hold on the backs if you want to put the actual lights in, or put the backs on just to have, I don't know, another scaled look. I'm not going to run the backs because like I said, I'm going to have these covers on, so it's really not going to make a difference at all. Right on. Nice. Hopefully these stick well, because I don't have any super glue with me. Okay, they stick well. Hopefully I stick them well, because I don't have any super glue with me. That one's so far so good. Let's not make the windshield fiasco all over again. These seem bigger than they are, okay. Well, that's not good. I would like to them been a little smaller. The square ones are actually perfect, but the other ones like almost bigger than the circle. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. That's on there. Alright. Front and back bias. How does it feel? Let's see. We'll pick it up right here. Yeah. Look, it's actually front heavy now with that on. Not if we do it from the back, though. Wow. Okay, the rear bumper is the M2 10mm A3. Put that on really quick. Heck yeah. Maybe I should have painted those screws black. That would have been cool too. That's cool. Oh yeah. So wheel wells. Now this is the thing that Injora gets a lot of shade from people on because they have a hard time putting the wheel wells on. And I think a lot of the mistakes, from what I can tell, is they're using the wrong screws. So when you're reading the instructions, it'll say on your wheel wells, you know, like the front right here on the front end, this back screw, this one right here, gets a different screw than everywhere else on the entire body. And it's the only one that does that. If you look really carefully, they'll tell you right here, it takes an M2 times 8 A2. And the rest of them, everywhere else, even the front and the back, only taken M2 times 6 and A1. So one of the things that'll go wrong with that is when you're looking for your screws, you'll notice I got M2 times 6, M2 times 8. These are C1, C2. Don't accidentally believe these are it. These are not the right screws. You really got to pay attention to the second nomenclature on what they're labeling their screws as. I think that's the right word. These are it. M2 times 6, M2 times 8. They only give you 2 screws. Again, it's only because only at the very backs of the front wheel wells. And that's because when you're turning with big wheels or if you're bumping into things, this is the most likely point to break off. So they give you extra long screws and a little bit of a thicker hole drilled out. So you got to make sure you're using the right ones for that. Also, all these holes are generally pretty tight. So don't strip out your screw heads when you're putting them in, and don't break your screws off. Go in gently. If it feels like it's getting too tight, but it's not actually pushing the rubber up against the body, then back it out and go in again. Go in a few times like that. Let it loosen up until it wants to go in. And then if it feels like maybe you did too loose, just put a dab of super glue on it or something. You don't want to go tight enough that it squishes the rubber. You just want it tight enough that it's held to the body. So we'll go over that real quick. These are the front ones like this. The front ones are smaller. The back ones are bigger. You can see here. Shazam. So we'll put one on. We'll put one front one on as a demonstration real quick. Okay, we're gonna start off with the M28A2. And this is the specialty screw for the back corner. Actually, we might not start off with that. Let's not start with it. Let's grab these here. These are the M26A1. I do have a small screw head. Maybe a little bit bigger than that one. What is this? This is the H1.5. Okay. Grab here. It's actually going in really easily. No problems at all. None at all. That's really smooth. Nice. I love it when you're wrong on stuff like this. And again, sometimes I may have had like certain bodies, like this body I didn't put them on, but the other body we did, and I didn't paint the other body. So maybe when they painted it and they clear coat it, some of the paint got into the holes more, and that would be why it's a little tougher to get it screwed in or something like that. So again, just try to have some patience for this part, for any of the screwing stuff together on plastic. Another thing with plastics, you know, again with the pressure, I know I said it about the rubber, but even with the plastics, you don't want to go so tight that you hear crinking and popping. You just want to go until there's a significant amount of pressure. Now, what does that mean? I don't think anyone can tell you. I think it's kind of just one of those things you learn as you're doing the hobby. So you can see here how that one's a little tight. It pushed the rubber is like kind of dipped up, right? So that's where I don't really want that to be happening. These are looking really good though. Wow. There we go. That really brings this thing together. And I was thinking about not running these, honestly. I was thinking, there looks pretty good without it. Man, it would have been cool had I rust painted that though. Those lines there, that would not have been that bad looking, honestly. I think this body looks really good with no mud flap, but I think the deal is when you see the Lexan Jeeps, a lot of them don't have the mud flares, the wheel flares. Oh, this is the other screw, so don't forget when you get to this point. So I wanted to kind of run them. Plus, the more rubbery and plasticky pieces that you put on, the more I think the truck looks more real. And having these holes in it, the back doors kind of look weird and everything, you know, so. Let me know what you guys think. All right, so this is that specialty screw. Now this one's a little harder to put in. You can feel that actually has the grip. There we go. And then on the inside, you can even see some of the screws are starting to poke through. Now that's not a requirement of how to know how tight it is. It's just sometimes they will and sometimes they won't. There we go. And I think that'll happen depending on how many coats of paint you put on too. I really believe had I put more coats of paints around the wheel wells, it would have been a little tighter to put in, because when I used their body and paint, it was like that. Perfect. I hope this is able to help.
In the next episode, we'll be going over the wheel wells, how to mount the interior, and how to mount the body to the frame. Thank you guys for watching. Have good days, have good nights, happy trucking.